Now we're going to talk a little bit about vowel harmony. Vowel harmony is the process in Turkish by which the vowel in an ending or suffix changes to become more like the vowel, the last vowel in the word it's attaching to. This sounds a little complicated. It isn't. And it will be really important to making your Turkish sound right to Turkish ears. Today we're going to start with the more simple form of vowel harmony, two-way vowel harmony. Two-way vowel harmony shows up in a number of Turkish suffixes, including the plural, and that's what we're going to use as an example today. The plural in Turkish, depending on vowel harmony, takes one of two forms, either ler or lar, attached to the end of a word. Let's start with an example. The Turkish word for house is ev. If we want to make that plural, if we want to say houses, we're going to choose one of these two plural forms, ler or lar. How are we going to know which one to choose? We're going to use the rules of two-way vowel harmony. It's called two ways because it can appear in one of two ways, either as ler or as lar. For ev, remembering that we want to be sure that according to the rules of vowel harmony, the suffix we choose a suffix that harmonizes best with the final vowel in the word we're attaching it to. Now, which, by harmonizes, I essentially mean is most similar to. Which of these is most similar to ler? So, we're going to change ev, make it plural, ev, ler. Houses. That's pretty easy. Let's look at another example. The Turkish word for horse, at. Now, if we want to make at plural, if we want to say horses, we're again going to have to make this choice between our two possible ways or forms of our plural suffix, ler or lar. Remember, because we're doing vowel harmony, we're going to want to choose the suffix, the form of the plural suffix, which harmonizes best with the final vowel in the word we're attaching it to, in this case, at. The only vowel in at is a. A is most similar to, harmonizes best with, lar. This a in lar. So to form the plural of at, we're going to say at lar, horses. Just to repeat, so it's completely clear in your mind, for ev becomes ev ler, houses. But at becomes at lar, horses. But, of course, not every word in Turkish contains an or an a in its final syllable. So how are you going to know how to choose the correct form of the suffix? There are rules to govern vowel harmony even for those words that don't contain an or an a. Let's take a look. I should emphasize that these relationships I'm about to explain are true for any suffix that uses two-way vowel harmony, not just for the plural, but we're going to stick to the plural suffix, ler, lar, for our examples right now. We can divide the 8 vowels in Turkish into two categories. The first category we're going to call back or a vowels. These vowels are called back vowels because they're articulated in the back of your mouth. And we can also call them a vowels because in two-way vowel harmony, they're going to harmonize best, be considered most similar to a. In the case of the plural, this is going to mean that any word containing a back or a vowel in its final syllable is going to take the plural lar. Let's look at a concrete example. Let's say you want to make the plural of the Turkish word for fish, balık. The final syllable of balık contains the vowel is one of our 4 back or a vowels, a, o, and u. Because is a back or a vowel, we're going to choose, naturally, the form of the plural suffix which harmonizes best for Find it on our chart. Is a back vowel. Our suffix vowel is a. So the plural of balık, fish, is going to be balıklar, fishes. Let's look at another example. Palto, which means overcoat. The vowel in the final syllable of palto, o, is another one of our back or a vowels, which means, of course, think back to our two-way vowel harmony, we're going to choose the form of the plural suffix which harmonizes best with o. As a back or a vowel, o is going to harmonize best with lar. Palto, lar, overcoats. Another example. What if you want to make the plural of the word for child, çocuk? Now, the vowel in the final syllable of çocuk is u. Let's look at our chart. U. It's one of our back or a vowels. What does that mean for us as we form the plural? Well, of course, it means we're going to choose the form of the plural that harmonizes best with u. U is a back a vowel. It'll harmonize best with lar. Çocuklar, children. And of course, as we saw earlier, if you're lucky enough to have a word that actually contains an a in its final syllable, and you want to add a plural suffix, your life is very easy. What does a harmonize best with? A, which would give us, for example, in the case of masa, the word for table, masalar. So those are the back or a vowels. Let's take a look at the second category. The second category are called front or vowels. They're called this because they're articulated at the front of your mouth. These vowels include I, and U. Every one of these four in two-way vowel harmony is going to harmonize best with e. For forming the plural, this means that when we go to choose one of our two forms, ler or lar, if we see any of these vowels, e, and u, in the final syllable of the word we want to make plural, we'll know that when we choose our plural suffix, we're going to choose the one that harmonizes best, ler, because these are the front vowels. Let's take a look at a concrete example or two. Kedi is the Turkish word for cat. If we want to say cats, we need to look at the vowel in the final syllable of kedi, I, find it on our chart. It's a front vowel. That means that its suffix vowel is going to be an e. So when we go to form the plural of kedi, cat, we're going to say it's kediler. That e corresponding to the I in the final syllable. Let's look at another example. Professor, which means professor. If you want to refer to more than one professor, you want to make that plural, we're going to look, what's the vowel in the final syllable? Sir. That is one of our front vowels. So when we choose our plural suffix, we're going to choose ler. Professor, ler. Professors. Because this harmonizes best with the as a front vowel. Another example. Gün, day, gün. If we want to make the plural of day, days, we're again going to look at the vowel in our final syllable, in this case our only syllable, U. U is one of our front vowels. Its suffix vowel should be an e. So of course when we go to make it plural, we're going to choose the form of the plural containing this suffix vowel, ler. Günler. ler, days. And of course, as we saw earlier, if the final syllable of the word you want to make plural actually contains an e, then of course e will harmonize best with itself. So your suffix vowel will also be e. An example, köpek, the word for dog. Köpek becomes köpekler, dogs.